Check. Checkity check check. Are we live? Let's find out. Yeah, I believe so. Word. Hey, everybody. All right. So I got a little mic set up. I hope you can hear this okay. I literally just did a full video 15 minutes ago, and I listened to it back. It uploaded to YouTube, and the audio was totally jank, so I just deleted it, and I'm going to take round two, take two. I hope the audio is better, a bit better this time, for a conversation about coincidence or fate. Hey everybody, this is John. I'm listening to Coincidence or Fate right now, to get myself in the flow to talk about some things that inspired me to write the song. So, to back up and tell a little story, one of the primary lyrics in the song that stands out to me is, "I fell asleep at the wheel." And this actually comes from a true story. I was a senior in high school, and I was out really late recording original music for the first time with my really great friend Christian Steinmetz. And sure enough, on the drive home, it had to have been maybe 1 or 2 in the morning, which is a rare thing for me to come driving home that late. And I actually went to the diner to get food with Drew Lewis, who was on drums. And man, this was the early days of original music. And sure enough, about 4 or 5 minutes from my house, nobody's on the road. And the road turns, and I kept going straight. And I woke up as the car was doing this, because it was going through the gravel and grass and all that. And I went through a sign. I think the sign woke me up. And then I woke up and just kind of made the most of this nightmare I found myself in. And I hit this tree on the right side, and the glass went everywhere, and I was just kind of ready to embrace whatever was about to happen. And somehow I wasn't injured. I was totally okay, and it scared me and freaked me out. Like, I was pale as a ghost, I'm sure. And I called my mom, and I said, "I'm not on my way." Like, and my mom's so wonderful. Like, she was just like, I don't remember what she actually said, but her energy was just like, "What's wrong? Like, you okay?" And it's like 1 or 2 in the morning. And I'm like, "No, like, I got in an accident." She's like, "What? Like, you okay?" Like, I'm like, "Yeah, everything's fine. Like, I just ran off the road." She's like, "Okay." And we figured it out, and I wrote this song, and for a few days after, I just remember my eyes were sort of glazed over, like it was summertime. And although the weather was beautiful and summertime was beautiful, no school, I just was kind of in this trance where nothing really mattered to me, because I just was so shocked by what had happened, and that I was still alive and had no injuries. Like, I was just so trying to see, why did this happen? And one thing I can say is it inspired a song, at the very least. So as I listen to it right now, it's just like, I'm so grateful that it exists, because that was back in high school, like I said, and around senior year, that same year is when I wrote the song, and it finished it, but it just got put on the shelf. And my beliefs at the time, I didn't believe back then in high school that I had anything interesting musically to offer, at least as a solo artist. So where my journey took me is I began collaborating with all kinds of people, and all those kinds of people became my best friends, and that took me from one band to another band. And the most recent band, Sonder Blue, comprised of my best friends, started touring all around the world. And all around the world, to me it was all around the world, all around the east coast of America, from Florida up to Wisconsin. And that was mostly 2017, 2018. And ultimately what I discovered amongst the incredible adventures that we went on and shared and learned how to create together and run a business and be brothers, and all of it, just so beautiful, unforgettable memories and experiences. But I think one of the fundamental things that I couldn't undo was the fact that the reason I got into that particular relationship was out of fear. out of fear that I didn't believe in myself. This reminds me of Paul Selig right now, who says, think about your life and all the decisions you've made. And all the decisions you made in fear, see what that got you. Now, I didn't realize that when I was a senior in high school, and instead of working on my own music, I began collaborating with everybody and put my own creativity, like my own really expressive side of myself that was like just me, like very full of me. I put that in the back burner because I didn't believe in myself. I believed more in what other people had. I thought they had something special and I didn't. And it is this self-doubt belief that led me to decide to collaborate with other people rather than own and learn what I'm all about and express myself, because it was scary at the time. So I chose a safer option relatively. And what did that lead me to? A giant adventure of years of adventure with my best friends. But it wasn't until the end of 2018 that I realized, like, something's not right. Like, I'm spiritually broken. I don't, this is wrong. Something's wrong here. And I began journaling, and through podcasts and listening, I just became more and more tense, more and more at odds, even though on the outside I was starting to gain success through this band, and my best friends were making progress. It wasn't progress to me because I decided to go off the beaten path of my soul. Although a lot of good things were happening, it wasn't worth it because I was so far away from what my soul was asking me to do. And so ultimately what I had to decide was I had to remove myself from that journey and let them go on, because I had to find myself. And it's funny how this song, Coincidence or Fate, is a song I wrote before that chapter began, and now it's the start of this chapter. Like, I feel like I'm going back to rewrite what I didn't do the first time, and I want to get it right this time, where I honor my creativity and honor my individuality, and that allows me to show up better for everybody else. If my cup's full, if I express myself and free myself, I really hope it inspires somebody else to do the same thing. Coincidence or fate? I'm just thinking what else would be interesting for me to share with you about this. One of the first concerts I ever saw was Ed Sheeran, and this was a few months before that car accident in high school, my senior year. I think it was senior year. Maybe it was like the spring before that, in junior year. I saw Ed Sheeran in concert. So it was before I wrote Coincidence or Fate. It was before the car crash. It was before that. I saw Ed Sheeran in concert. It was my first choir class, and I started learning how to sing and play guitar a little bit. And so a school night, it was like a Tuesday or Thursday night, like a random school day. We finished school, and then we drove a few hours away to go see Ed Sheeran in concert. And I didn't know who it was. I was a sports guy, and I just was kind of like the sports dude that showed up to choir class. And I got along with everybody because I love to hang out with all kinds of different people. But in high school, I wasn't really in the camp of the artsy creatives that much. I was more so leaning into the sports world. And when I started to lean into the artsy world, I found myself tagging along to go to this concert to see someone named Ed Sheeran, and then somebody named Passenger to open up for Ed Sheeran. And I was like, okay, like, I don't know who that is. And like, no, just listen to the music. Like, you're gonna know one of the songs. They have this, Ed Sheeran has this new song called A-Team that is really starting to pick up, and like, he's really good, I promise. So I just kind of went along because what else was I gonna do? I was invited, and 7 or 8 people went. And we got back later that night, back at like 2 or in the morning, or just like a late night. Who knows what time it actually was. But the next day at school, I remember going to cross-country practice. I think I was doing cross-country. And I just wasn't the same. Like, they were like, how was the concert? And I was just like, it was so good. Like, I was forever changed after experiencing whatever I experienced there. And I feel very grateful that someone like Ed Sheeran was one of the first people that I saw play live. at least in that setting where 2,000 or 3,000 people were packed in the house, and he just captivated the audience on his come up. Like, I didn't know what I signed up for. It was like a psychedelic trip that I didn't know I signed up for, and I experienced it, and I was like, wow, I'm taking this in, and I want to do more music. So if you even look back to the beginning of this channel, I started making all kinds of beats through high school, and seeing this concert open up the can of worms. I'm like, whoa, like, I don't want to just make beats. Like, maybe I could perform. Maybe I could write a song, and that leads to me recording original songs, and then the car accident, and then like Coincidence or Fate, and a million other things, and the whole journey with the bands. And now at the end of 2018, I'm like, wait a second. I have to make a very bold decision to follow my intuition that I abandoned a long time ago. I had the right intentions, I just didn't have the tools back then to have the courage to take a step into the unknown, like Frozen, like, into the unknown. And I wasn't ready to take that step. And for me, it really wasn't until I suffered so much through mental illness and depression, and my soul just kind of was like, yo, like, you can't do this anymore. And in some ways it made the decision easier because I had to surrender. I couldn't keep fighting and being tough and rely on the success. Like, music is this beautiful, powerful thing, and I was out of alignment. And I just feel really grateful to now have a second chance, really, to go back and release this song that was birthed my senior year of high school, and now to be 24 years old and have it out there for you all, and has a few hundred streams in just the first couple days. So, yeah, quick shout out to Hybrid Audio Solutions in Charleston, South Carolina for helping me record that, Alan and Scott, and also one of my best friends, Connor Hollifield, on electric guitar, and Drew Lewis on drums. Super talented friends around me that help expand this world that I haven't let everybody into. And now I'm letting people see, even myself, what I have to offer, and give myself a real chance. So here we are. If this at all is interesting to you, let me know. Like, I'm experimenting a lot right now with this time in the world, with the coronavirus being a massive hiccup, where a lot of people are in isolation at home at this time for the first time in human history. I saw this guy, Mayor, on Instagram. He shared a post saying, this is the first time in human history that many people are at home, but we're still connected because we have the internet. So it's just this very unique time. And with that, I wanted to close this video with this app called The Pattern. You type in your birthday and where you were born, what your location geography-wise, and it shares with you daily insights. And essentially it's supposed to be like your guide or a check-in with your soul, and just to make sure that you're not just going through the motions with your life, but you're actually listening to your feelings and checking in a bit. So here's what it says to me, and maybe to many others. Could be relevant. Over the next 6 weeks, there's an opportunity to embrace your own unconventional side. Recent global events have likely forced you and others around you to self-isolate. While having to distance yourself from others may be difficult, it's giving you the chance to deeply examine who you really are. This is a good time to own your authentic self, especially the parts of you that are eccentric and different from others. Current events have already disrupted conventions, so now is a great time to think about what you really want from your life. If you're someone who often feels the need to fit in, take this opportunity to let go of your routines and conventions and see what develops. It might also help to examine what's been compromising your ideals or stopping you from exploring freely. I feel like for most of us, what stops us from exploring freely is ourselves. And then if we get wrapped up into commitments like our jobs and our commitments, and if we get really wrapped up in the external world, into the matrix, the flow, the system of life, we can entirely forget about what we really wanted in the first place. So with a lot of people slowing down right now and being inside, me being one of them, all my shows being canceled, it's a great time to reevaluate and experiment and really before hopping in a rocket ship and shooting across outer space. Think about where you want to go. Like, we have this ability to imagine and create and reflect and connect and share and communicate. But you have to know where you're going. And if you don't know where you're going, start moving and see where you end up. If you don't know where to go, at least take the next right step, which this is for me coming from Frozen 2, which I watched last night for the first time. Like, when things get really chaotic, all you can do is focus on the next right step. Some people might have a 5-year plan. Your plan might be the 5-second plan. What can I do in the next 5 seconds that would be good for me? You know what? I think in the next 5 seconds I could wrap up this video because it's too long. Maybe like 30 seconds. So here's the last thing to ask. During this time, you might ask yourself, what does being free mean to me? Even if this energy isn't resonating with you, you might notice that others are embracing their uniqueness now. This is an opportunity to access new ideas and apply them consciously. So with that, I'm really doing my best to do that right now through creating music. I've been releasing some instrumentals right now that you can check out on my channel. I've been practicing breath work in my morning routine, which I've talked about that a little bit on my channel. And then these YouTube lives where I can discuss my music and the ideas that are really interesting for me right now. So it's a time for experimentation and reflection and all that. You already know. So I hope this was of value to you in some way. This is the lifetime, according to many, like Dolores Cannon or Aaron Dowdy's YouTube channel, who talks a lot about spiritual teachings. We forget. We go through this veil of forgetfulness when we are, as a human, like we forget who we are, and then we have to remember who we are. And through things like music, for me, writing my own music in particular, I remember who I am. I remember, like, oh, like, that's my vibe. Like, that's who I am at my essence, at my core, and I need to stay at that frequency and own that and emit that and shine and let myself shine. So with that, I can ask it again. What does being free mean to me? Don't put too much pressure on yourself. I put a lot of pressure on myself. Just know we're well on our way and we're in it together. And yeah, if you have any questions, I'm sending you lots of love, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, bye.